Theon Greyjoy is aboard the Myra, which is taking him to his father's castle on Pike. Although there is no safe anchorage, Theon insists that the Myra pass by the castle so he can watch his home rise just as it dwindled, when he was taken away as a ward of Eddard Stark 10 years before. Theon is unable to make out the banner above the sea tower, but he knows it is the golden kraken of House Greyjoy. In the sky beyond the castle, the red comet is still visible. Theon decides it is his comet, sliding a hand to a letter from Robb Stark that he considers as good as a crown. The captain's daughter asks Theon if the castle is as he remembers it, and he confesses it looks smaller. He then gives the captain permission to make for port at Lordsport and takes the girl below deck, where he has her satisfy him orally. The girl asks to come ashore with him to be his salt wife, but Theon rebuffs her, explaining that the days of the old way are gone and that her place is on the Myra, despite her protests that her father will hit her for having slept with Theon. In the harbour of Lordsport, Theon notices at least 50 or 60 longships, including those of Houses Goodbrother, Winch and Harlaw. Theon considers why his father has called the banners, wondering whether it is because of caution or whether Lord Balon has anticipated as to why Theon was finally coming home after all these years. From aboard the ship, Theon discovers there is no honour guard to escort him to Pike. As they make port, the captain of the Myra announces him, but the waiting merchants are unimpressed and do not recognise him. He orders a horse from an innkeeper, but their conversation is interrupted by a priest of the drowned god who says he will escort his nephew to Balon's castle. Theon does not recognise the grim, bearded priest until he remembers his father writing that his uncle Aeron Greyjoy had gone down in a storm and turned holy after the near-death experience. Theon finds that Aeron's cold manners are totally unlike the amiable man he remembers from his youth. Abruptly, Aeron asks if Theon prays to the Stark gods now, and Theon, who seldom prays at all, says no. Aeron commands him to kneel in the mud and drenches his head with seawater from a waterskin, reconsecrating him to the drowned god. Aeron informs Theon that his mother now lives on Harlaw because of her health, and his sister Asha has taken her ship, Blackwind, to Great Wick with messages from her father. Theon asks why his father has assembled his forces, but Aeron insists Balon commanded secrecy. Theon protests, stating he has a right to know as Balon's heir, but Aeron replies, "We shall see" to that, stating that although Balon has no other sons but Theon, he does have a daughter. When Theon furiously replies that he will not allow himself to be cheated out of his birthright by a woman, Aeron comments that Theon is a fool if he believes Balon will ever hand over the Iron Islands to a Stark, making Theon realise that, although he was never truly accepted by the Starks, he is now neither truly accepted by his own family either. They reach Pike at sunset, from where Aeron departs immediately. Theon is brought to his chambers by Helya, who informs him that Balon awaits him atop the sea tower. Theon dresses richly before leaving to meet his father. Balon is smaller, gaunter and greyer than Theon remembers him. Balon asks what Theon is now, and Theon replies he is a man and Balon's heir. Balon only says, "They will see." Balon criticises Theon's clothing and asks if the gold chain around his neck was bought with iron or gold. Theon, recalling that the old way stipulates a warrior may only wear jewellery taken from enemies he has slain, has to admit the chain was bought with gold. Balon yanks the chain off Theon's neck, declaring that his daughter has taken an axe for a lover and he will not have his sons dress like a whore. Balon accuses Theon of having grown weak due to the Green Lands and decides the Starks have made Theon theirs, calling Theon Robb Stark's envoy. Theon claims the letter of Robb he carries was based on Theon's own counsel, which amuses Balon. However, when Theon tells Balon that Robb looks upon him as an older brother, Balon grows angry. Theon hands his father the letter, but it fails to impress Balon. In the letter, Robb offers Balon a crown in return for having the Ironborn attack the Westerlands, specifically Lannisport and Casterly Rock. Theon tells Balon the proposed plan is his own and asks for his reward, Casterly Rock, as his own seat. Balon scoffs at the notion of receiving such handsome reward for a notion and a few lines of scribbling, and shows his dislike for the notion that Robb will give him a crown, as what is given can be taken away. Balon burns the letter and backhands Theon when he protests. Balon declares that he will pay the iron price for his crown and take it by conquest, as Euron Redhand did 5,000 years before. However, Balon feels Casterly Rock to be too strongly defended and Lord Tywin Lannister to be too cunning by half. Theon asks what kingdom Balon means to carve out instead, but he realises he already knows the answer.
What do we say to the god of death?
Not today.